to stop and just get to the last slide here, and then we're going to pause for questions on electoral advocacy specifically, because I've raised a bunch of really strange things that hopefully have confused you, because it's sort of a confusing thing. But did anyone here ever run, or anyone online ever run for office in like high school or in middle school or in college? Okay, we're gonna work on our buddy right here. Hello, what is your name?
My name is Nathan.
Nathan. And Nathan, what did you run for?
I was the student body president of both my high school and my college.
Oh, wow, Nathan. Oh, okay. So Nathan, I have a question for you. When you first decided to run for student body president of your high school, before you were like the big college fancy president, what would you have said, like, if I was like to go hang out with 16-year-old Nathan, and I'd be like, Nathan, what's your special, who is your voter base? Like, who would you say your voter base was as little 16-year-old? And be honest, don't be like, it was the jocks. It was really great. I mean, it might have been the jocks.
I mean, I did the morning announcements, so it was really the nerds.
Okay, great. You're in good company. This is great. All right, perfect. So it was the nerds. And if you had to say, like, who is your persuasion universe of people that, like, maybe, like, could have swung your way, but, like, might have taken some conversations and some personal charm and some glad handing and some, you know, like, I don't know, locker stickers. Who would those people be?
I think it was people who felt left out by what was already happening in the school.
Whoa, say more about that.
That we had a school that had strong clubs that were sort of institutionalized, but we didn't have clubs for sort of diversity. It's hard to start new things.
Yeah.
And we wanted to sort of open up the school so there could be more people running more clubs.
Wow, you were a really insightful 16-year-old. So your middle persuadable universe was like the disenfranchised young leaders of the high school. Okay, and who were like the people that like in actual campaigning we call them fives, because you rate people 1 through 5 when you talk to them on the phone. They're like the people that you will never persuade, even if you paid them money, which is illegal. You would just never persuade them, and you wouldn't even waste your time talking to them. Who were those people in your high school election?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't really even
know.
No
one hated you?
I mean, I'm sure lots of people hated
me,
but they thankfully didn't come up
We
and
had really
tell me.
different high school experiences. Okay, yeah, but there weren't people that you were like, this type of person probably is not my buddy.
I wasn't a jock, I wasn't the partier, so I probably
maybe the
wasn't
partiers.
Gonna get
Okay.
their votes.
Okay, was there a partier president here? I really want to know. Yeah, girl. Okay, cool. So we're gonna hang out afterwards. But okay, fantastic. So your simple exercise here is gonna help illustrate something that political professionals got wildly wrong in the 2016 elections. Mark my words, quote me on this, write this down, whole thing. And you can hand the mic back, because thank you. Round of applause for our student body president. So there's really 1, 2, 3, 4 basic, we're like ending this electoral 101, 201 presentation with this little screenshot here. There are 4 phases of electoral advocacy, no matter what your campaign is. Whether you're running for student body president in high school, in college, whether you're running for American president, whatever your campaign is, there are 4 phases. Number 1, you have to get a sense, ID the voters, get a sense of who stands where, why, what do they care about. Beautiful that you knew, even this very few years past your high school days, exactly what the persuadable voters still cared about way back in high school, right? So IDing voters as campaigns. The Hillary Clinton campaign did this. The Trump campaign kind of did this with like Twitter. It was sort of a thing. They didn't really have a field effort. The Obama campaign, when I worked in the Obama campaign in both cycles, in every primary, in every general election, we spent hundreds of thousands of volunteer and staff hours IDing voters to understand where people stood and how we could build our campaign to reflect their needs. Now, I want to point something really important out. We didn't spend that time understanding where they stood so we could pander to them. Some people do. Some people. We spent our time understanding where those people stood because it was a key part of understanding how to govern them. And as someone who studied peace building and democracy building and developing countries and war and conflict, like, elections are more than just about winning. They're about getting people to talk to each other and getting elected officials to understand their base enough such that they can govern. Okay, so we're gonna get back to why we totally messed this up in a second. Then you figure out who is not registered. I'm sure this wasn't an issue with high school elections. It's a huge issue here. In some states, as some of you may know, you have to give your social security number to a stranger if you want to register to vote on the street. We have different laws state by state for how to register to vote, but it's super important that people like you are part of being on street corners all over, helping people understand that it's their right and their privilege. But then after you've ID'd voters, you register voters. Next, the penultimate thing you do is you persuade voters. So you have a sense in your brains. I need to get to 50% plus 1 to win my high school or to win my congressional district. How many people paid attention to the race that happened last night? Where we lost. It was actually a huge victory and really exciting because it was a 27-point divide, and we only lost by a little bit. But so ID voters, register voters, persuade voters. Persuasion for me is the #1 peace-building thing that when I think back to my dad's Civil War experience is crucially important as a democracy-building exercise. So does anyone know how much we spend on average when we run a presidential election in the US these days, in the past couple races, on both sides? Around $1.2 billion every 2.5 years on an American presidential race, on each side. And Donald Trump didn't spend this because he used Twitter a lot more than he used community organizing tactics that cost money. But $1.2 billion investment? Oh my gosh. So you better be engaging the populace and having them talk to each other and convince each other if you're going to win. And then finally, you turn out voters. How many people have gotten phone calls from people trying to get you to know where or when to vote? Yeah, most people in the room. Okay. So throughout, if you're a smart organization or entity, as all of you will be when you leave this room, you're using these tactics and these tools to build your teams and your entities and your smart organizations of some people who can do digital stuff, some people can do data stuff, people who can help you with your message, people who could help you, print out your maps to knock on doors. Neither the Hillary Clinton campaign nor the Donald Trump campaign, for the first time in modern American presidential history, ran persuasion programs on the ground in the states. Absolute malpractice. Absolute malpractice. And I say this as someone who has many dear, deep, beloved friends who ran the Hillary Clinton campaign that I'm super angry about to this day. And people who I know who ran battleground states for the Clinton campaign are angry about this to this day. And so one of the key messages, and it's not surprising that the Trump campaign didn't run a persuasion program because he was busy tweeting bombastically and using that as persuasion. But if you get anything out of today's presentation at all, I hope that you get that persuasion is not only a thing that we need to do to win. We can't be so arrogant as to think that if we just turn out, we have enough Democratic voters, we have enough progressive voters, if we just turn them out, we'll win. We have to, as part of democracy building in our country, we have to engage with people that we disagree with. And it's really uncomfortable, it's really awkward, it's really weird. It starts now, it starts with issue advocacy, and then it goes into electoral advocacy, and it is so unsexy and unglamorous and stressful, but it's really important, and all of you are the experts on it. And you're more the experts, unfortunately, than many of us who are professionals to this day.